Hello, everybody. My name is Peter, and I'm going to be your session host for this, the last of our formal sessions, before we go to the closing speech. Now, in a minute, I'm going to be handing over to our speakers, Thomas and Ellinor. But before I do, just a final reminder, please do feel free to use the chat function to make observations, and please put your questions in the Q&A tab. We'll try to get to as many of them as we can at the end of the session. So then, to introduce our sessions, firstly, Thomas. So Thomas says that he's almost an old tester, as he started working in QA 14 years ago. After learning and becoming more experienced, he's now a QA manager and is in charge of testing strategy for his company's software and improving its test automation practices. Ellinor is a pre-sales engineer at Jenny Mobile, and she helps clients improve their testing strategy and speed up their tests using Genymotion. Cloud Android virtual devices. So she's met many clients with many different profiles, going from manual to automated testing, or already experienced with automated testing. And their talk today is called Industrialize Your Android Tests, a Tools and Methods Cookbook, in which we're going to learn more about automating end-to-end mobile testing and building your own mobile test automation strategy. So without further ado, I'm going to go off camera, but I'm going to hand over to Thomas and Ellinor. So Thomas, Ellinor, over to you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. So maybe you can share.
I will share my screen. So.
Yeah, I'm just going to start.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, thank you for the introduction. So during this presentation, we are going to give you some best practices that come from our experience with our customers and also how we work internally. And you will see that there isn't one solution better than the other. It will really depend on the technologies that you want to use for building your testing environment or improve your existing one. And we will finish the presentation with a full end-to-end mobile testing demonstration using all the tools and the methods that we introduced in this presentation. And before starting, we would like to better know you and to better understand where you are in terms of mobile test automation. So I'm going to publish a poll. You should see it. I'm not sure. So can you answer this? Do you do Android automatic testing? Yes or no? And if you can answer that, yes. I can see that I've total votes. So yeah, you are like 50-50. So that's good. So yeah, let's hear more about that. So let's see a bit about the agenda. We will give a bit of a context on why having a good strategy for automating mobile tests is important. This strategy will depend on the tools you use. So we will then provide you the tools needed for Android mobile automated testing. And also, to better test at scale, you will need to parallelize your tests. And finally, we will show you everything through demonstration. So let's start with the context. So maybe in your company, you are probably already using agile methodology to develop and deliver your mobile application. So which means that you build, test, and deploy more often than before. And if you are already a QA engineer, you may have already experienced that we ask you to be more and more involved in the testing, and that, of course, you have a key role on the application quality. We all know that an application failing to respond has a direct business impact. So what we see is that when we talk to those people daily, they are adopting a shiftless strategy. They conduct tests early to minimize the cost of bugs. And we see that, tests needs to be automated, leaving manual testing for exploratory tests. And we hear a lot about automating tests, but it is not enough. and having a good strategy is the key. And what we think of the key components of this strategy are choosing the most suited testing framework, the tools around automation, and also how those tests are being run. And I'm going to give some examples of implementations where automating tests without any strategy could be inefficient. So, for example, if you automate tests without any continuous integration environment, if you automate your tests in several batches without any prioritization, you would have to wait a long time to get the results. And if you are testing on different OSs, for example, Android and iOS, and you choose two different testing frameworks, for example, Espresso for Android and Appium for iOS, although you could choose Appium for both and have common testing code for both app versions. Now we will go into more details on the tools for Android mobile automated testing, and I will let Thomas talk about it.
Yes, thanks, Ellinor. So before talking about testing framework, I'm going to do a little reminder on the continuous integration workflow. I think that most of you know how it works. Developers push their code into a source control server like GitHub, GitLab, the CI, Jenkins, CircleCI, Bitrace, or other tools will detect the change and will trigger some jobs, build, test, and deploy the application. And when it's done, the result of the jobs will be notified to the developers or to the testers. Before introducing the framework, let's start with a poll. Which testing framework do you use? Do you use Appium, Espresso, Detox, or other framework? I will let a few seconds to answer.
Yeah, I've just published it, so you should be able to respond.
Anyone use a testing framework?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, maybe we can go on and then we'll see the...
So the most used testing framework for Android mobile tests are Espresso, Appium, and Detox. All of them are able to test native and hybrid application. Appium can also test web application, and Detox is known for testing a React Native application. Espresso is essentially used by developers because Espresso needs to have access to the source code, and it's used only on Android, and it supports Java or Kotlin language. Appium and Detox philosophy is to test as a real user. So they are most used by testers because they don't need to have access to the source code. Another advantage is that they are used to run tests on Android and iOS with the same script. Let's talk about Espresso architecture. Espresso testing allows developers to build a test suite as a standalone APK. This APK can be installed on the target devices alongside the application under test and be executed very quickly. Espresso does not require any server to communicate with. Instead, it's run side by side with the app and deliver you a very fast test result to the developers. Let's talk about Appium. Appium is an HTTP server that is written on the Node.js platform. It works on a client-side server architecture, and Appium allows the use of the available WebDriver client for executing the test. Available WebDriver client are for Python, Java, Golang, any language you want. The Appium server will receive the connection from the client side, listens to the command, executes the command on the mobile devices, and it will return the command execution status as an HTTP response to the client. Now let's talk about Detox. There is a Detox server that communicates with the test suite running on Node.js using a test runner like Jest or Mocha. It executes the user command sent by the tester with a WebSocket and will launch them on the mobile application. A regular native build of the application is installed and executed on the devices. So now we have talked about testing framework. I will now let Ellinor explain where to run your test.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. We are going to continue with a poll. Before I go more into that, I'm just going to publish it. And my question is, if you are, of course, into doing automated testing, are you running your test on virtual devices, physical devices, both locally on your own infrastructure or on the cloud? So I will let you answer that. Indeed, when you have chosen your testing framework and written your tests, you need to choose on which type of devices to run them. So what we often see is that people are using a hybrid approach, physical and virtual. Why? Because they are both complementary and have both pros and cons. And what we see is that for daily tests, people tend to use virtual devices. Indeed, with virtual devices, you can use APIs to test the application in various conditions. For example, doing image injection, which could be hard with physical devices. And as we need to test often, we need to be reactive and have devices always available for the test in order not to block pending pull requests. But we know also that with virtual devices, we can't, for example, test device manufacturer specific layer. So what we see is that usually real devices are used before a new release for full validation. And we also see a tendency to move to the cloud to avoid all the hassle of managing the infrastructure and achieve better scalability. And during this presentation, we are going to do a demo using Android virtual devices in the cloud with Genymotion Cloud. So we are going to introduce briefly what Genymotion Cloud is. Genymotion Cloud are cloud-based Android emulators. You can interact with a device manually from a web browser for example, exploratory testing, or automatically when a CI job is triggering the start and the stop of the devices and running automated tests on it. And as it is on the cloud, the number of devices can be easily scaled up and down to achieve better scalability and reduce your testing time. And of course, Thomas will talk more about the different methods on how to scale your tests later in the presentation. So as you can connect to Genymotion Cloud devices directly with an ADB connection, the integration is quite seamless. You can run your tests as if you had physical devices plugged to your CI. We have talked about testing frameworks. We have talked about devices on which to run the test on. So now, let's talk about the third part, which are the CI servers. And we know that CI servers play a central role in the mobile development application lifecycle as the orchestrator of building the application, start the devices, and run the test on them. And as for the devices, for the CI server, what we see is that there is a tendency for cloud solution because it is easy to set up and the infrastructure is managed for you. So that because it could be time consuming to configure everything on-prem if there aren't any experts in your company to set up everything and maintaining it. And also I wanted to publish a poll about that to better know if you are already using a continuous integration server, and if you are doing it, which server are you using? And I'm going to introduce a bit some of the CI servers that are out there on the market. There is Bitrise, which is a cloud CI server dedicated to mobile. It has a user-friendly interface to create job workflows, which is quite intuitive. It's ideal for people that are not very familiar with creating jobs. And of course, if you're already familiar in creating jobs with configuration files, you can do it from YAML file. Seeker CI and GitHub Actions also, they are both available on cloud or on-prem, and you can configure the jobs directly from a YAML file. And you have now all the tools to build your Android testing strategy. So let's talk about how you can reduce your testing time by parallelizing tests to better test at scale. And for that, I will hand this to Thomas.
Thanks, Ellinor. So why run test at scale? Running test at scale will improve the test build time, and you can get the result as soon as possible. Running test at scale will also allow you to test your application with the same or different Android version. I think you know functional tests can take a long time depending on the number of tests you have, the number of Android version you want to test. It can be annoying to wait for the result. That's why we encourage testers and developers to scale their tests using parallel testing methods or test sharding. So let's talk about parallel testing. Imagine you want to run your test on several Android versions like Android 8, 9, 10, 11. The goal is to start several devices at the same time and run tests on all of them. The benefit of it is you will improve your test coverage and you will be sure that all your scenario will work on all Android versions you target. It can be useful to run those tests in parallel before a release. Parallel testing is easy to set up with almost all testing framework using libraries like PyTest for Python, TestNG for Java. Let's talk about test sharding. The purpose of doing test sharding is to spread tests across devices and ease the test workload so that you can execute automated tests faster. Imagine that you have 100 tests. It's taking 10 minutes in total to complete on a single devices. Now, what if we divide these 100 tests to get them run on 5 devices? 20 tests for each devices. It will take 2 minutes rather than 10 minutes to finish the test session and get the test reports. This method can be useful when the development of your application is in progress and you want to catch up bugs earlier. Example, when you push a pull request or a commit. You don't need to run those tests on each Android version, but you want to be sure that they are working. Test sharding is also easy to set up. You can use the Android instrumentation runner or Spoon for Android. So now you have the recipe. Now it's time to cook. So I will do a little demo. So I will change here. So we have talked about CI, we have talked about testing framework, we have talked about Genymotion Cloud to run Android devices in order to run tests. So here in my demo, I will use Bitrise because it has a user-friendly interface and it's easy to set up. So I have developed an Android application here, and I will show the workflow before starting my test. So I have a workflow called TestCon demo. So here, the workflow is a collection of Bitrace steps. We have a step to clone the GitHub repository. We have a step in order to run, to build the Android application. I don't know, maybe it's a little. All right. We have also a step to install Appium, because at Genie Mobile, we mostly use Appium for Android testing. So we have a step to install Appium. We have a step to run Android devices. This is one of our integration we did with the Genymotion Cloud. So here you will be able to connect to your Genymotion Cloud account, and you will be able to specify how much devices you want to run. Here for this demo, I will run 2 devices, and I will also connect those devices through ADB with some ADB serial port, because Appium and Python need to have specific ADB serial port to run them in parallel. After that, we will run test. Here I'm using PyTest, and I will run a single script in order to my application. You will write a message, you will click on a button, and we will verify the text is correct. It's a simple application. And after that, we will stop all Android devices. So now we have all our workflow. We can start the build. So I will demo TestCon. And I will trigger the TestCon demo. So okay, should be okay. So now Bitrace will has detect a change, and it triggers the job. So here you can see all the steps are running. I've cloned my repository. I've put some file in cache, into the cache. Now we will build the Android application. During this build, I will show you Genymotion Cloud interface. So here I'm on the home page. I have some default templates, so some default Android devices with some different Android version. Here we have running virtual devices, and as you can see, we have no virtual devices running for the moment. So in few minutes, you will see 2 Android devices in this box. So I will go back to Bitrace. So the application is built. Now we install Appium, and we will start Android devices. So to manage and the Android devices, we have installed our CLI tools in order to start, to make the ADB connection, and to stop the devices. So as you can see here, I'm starting 2 Android devices. So we have 4, but it's a bug, and we have raised it to our dev team.
It's just an interface.
Just an interface bug. If I refresh the page, I have to devices. So now I can display it. I will just display one devices, and we need to wait a few seconds in order to the ADB connection will be okay. And after that, we will run the test.
Yeah, maybe you can. I can add some more. So yeah, here you see that you see there is an integration where we use our command line tool. We also have other integration with other CI tools, but also with other frameworks. We can't talk about all of this, but yeah. So here you can see that device was successfully connected.
So I will go back to Genymotion Cloud. And in a few seconds, you will see the Appium server starts, and you will see the application, and the test will be run. Genymotion, okay. You need to just wait a few seconds. So now the application will start. I will write some tests on the input fields. And I verify the test is correctly set. And when all my tests are done, the devices will be stopped. And as you can see, the device is not available anymore. And if I go back to the home page, I have no virtual devices running. And in Bitrace, the workflow will continue and notify me with the test results. So I think I'm done.
Present again.
Oh.
Yes, thank you for attending this conference. So I hope that it was informative, that you have let's say a quick overview of the tools that you have for Android mobile testing. During the demonstration, we did kind of a focus on the Appium framework, but of course, all these methods apply to any testing framework. You have some tutorials with Espresso or also with Detox. So yeah, if you want to have more information, discuss with us, you can of course send us an email. You can also send us a message through the Pine platform, also request a meeting. We are available. And yes, now we are going to take out the questions if you have some. Maybe you can stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Thomas and Ellinor. That was a very interesting presentation. And thank you also for sharing your contact details. I'm sure you are going to get questions afterwards. So I just want to remind people that if you do have a question, please pop it into the Q&A channel. We'll try to address as many of them as we can. Also that there are ebooks on offer as a guide for or a reward for the most active questions. So whilst I wait to get a couple more questions, I actually have a question or two for you both. So, and the first one is this, and I don't mind which of you take it. Are there any common mistakes that people make when they start automating testing? So I guess what I'm going to ask is, on the benefit of your experience and having done this for a long time, are there some things we need to be aware of before we start going down this route?
Good question. I think the most common mistakes for me is to the language you choose to develop your test scripts. It's not the test framework, or because all test framework, apart the detox, which use specific JavaScript language, but Appium, you can use Python, Java, JavaScript. For me, the most mistake is to use a language that you do not use in your company, because you will not have any help if you have some issue. So you need to make sure someone can review your code, help you if you have some problem with the language.
Yeah, and also you need to work in teams to build your strategy. And also when we talk to our clients, we see that they are kind of open-minded. They are looking for a lot of tools, and they take time to decide on which type of tools they want to go in their testing.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, I think that your advice is don't go and choose a tool or a language that nobody else understands in your organization, but to use something that can be a common foundation, something where you can share knowledge and develop together and support each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good lesson in a world where lots of tools become available very quickly and there are lots of options and lots of new features. There's a huge temptation to go for the one that looks like it's the bright and shiny and new. But of course, if nobody can help you, then you're on your own when it comes to doing that. So thank you. That's a great bit of advice. So think about what can your organization support when you're looking at what kind of tools and you're going down this route. Now I've got a different kind of question for you. And this one is really looking to the future of automated testing. And I'm going to start with you, Ellinor, and then I'm going to go to you, Thomas. So Ellinor, I'd like to know, if you wouldn't mind, what excites you about the future of automated testing? It is a fast-paced changing world, but what are you looking forward to?
What we see, just for the history, we have been launching our product on the cloud for, let's say, almost 3 years now. And we see that, people, when we try to talk about cloud testing, automation testing 3 years ago, there weren't so many people out there. And now we see that, the trend is to do on cloud automated testing, and now we have all the things about AI. Maybe we will have some new helpers that will help us create our testing scripts, help us spread it to a lot of devices, could be on the cloud. So I think maybe the future of automated testing is on the cloud.
Thank you. And so Thomas, same question to you. What excites you? You're looking to the future. Is there something you are waiting for or anticipating?
I don't know what to answer, because what I see is tools evolve day after day, and we can predict the future. So as Ellinor said, I think cloud is the solution, is the future, but I don't know what will happen.
No, that's fine. I mean, anybody who's got a crystal ball that can look more than 2 years into the future right now, I would like to meet them. But there is actually, I was just thinking about, as you were talking, the last 18 months or so has seen enormous levels of transformation in every aspect of business. Lots of businesses who perhaps weren't expecting to transform suddenly have to. Lots of businesses that weren't online have had to move online very quickly, and they're introducing new apps and new operating models. And I think that we're facing a period where there's still going to be quite a lot of uncertainty and volatility out there. I don't think we're out of the woods yet, as the expression would go. So let me ask you a different question. When you're working in an environment where there is that uncertainty and change, external change often comes up, how do you address that with automated testing? How do you accommodate those? We thought the world was going to look like this, but it actually looks like that. how do you use the kind of tools you use to accommodate those changes, those things that, this was designed for one environment which perhaps doesn't exist now?
Good question.
A really difficult question. Sorry, guys. I don't want to beat you
Yes.
up on this, but let's think about an example. You must have clients at the moment who have had to think about, we need to get out to market very quickly. We need to get our product out there, but we do want to make sure that it works, that it does what we expect. How have you been able to deal with that? Because I suspect that's part of the raison d'etre behind automated testing, is to give you the scale and the flexibility to do that.
Yeah, usually what we see is that we have clients. Yeah, they say they try to do let's say automated testing on their own using emulators, trying to do the infrastructure. But when they see that they need to scale because they need to release fast, and they want to not have the application have their bugs found sooner, what we see is that they find, let's say, cloud solution, a good solution to be able to scale really quickly and to get that result as fast as possible.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that's one of the great rationales for this, is that ability to scale and scale quickly and to be able to deal with changes. Because I think a year ago I was talking with an organization and saying, every time we come up with a plan of where we think we're going to be in 2 weeks, the world changes on us and we have to quickly go back out there. Now, using some of the traditional techniques, they simply wouldn't have been able to respond in time. They wouldn't have been able to do enough testing. So I think for me that's one of the things I'm going to take away. This is your opportunity to scale, to distribute the workload, to actually be able to run those iterative releases. Because again, one of the things that came out was a lot of those organizations, nobody knew what the world was actually looking like. So everybody was having to respond to what was happening in almost real time as it developed. But one of the things that has come out of that is that lots of business leaders say, well, now that we've shown that we can respond at speed, why don't we do that forever? Why don't we, let's not go back to the old cycles of doing things that took weeks or months to develop. Let's find a way that we can move at pace. Anyway, I think that we're going to finish actually a couple of minutes early, which is good because I want to get ready for the listening to our closing speakers. But before I do, I just want to say thank you very much, Ellinor. Thank you, Thomas. That was a great presentation. There's a lot of content in there. I'm sure the audience will be pleased to hear that it will be available as a recording, so you can watch it back and catch up with all the bits of detail. But until then, until our closing speech this afternoon, where I'll be in the audience, I hope you will join me. I just want to say thank you very much and goodbye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.